So I think the main reason that air quality is so important, the average human being takes about 20,000 breaths per day. You're consuming about enough air to fill up a normal size swimming pool. And if you were to take a particle counter around your house right now, you would see there's a lot of particles in the air. Now, you don't normally see them because you look through them, right? Air is invisible. The only time you realize that there's actually particles floating in the air that you're constantly breathing in is when that ray of light refracts off the dust in the air and you look at it and go, wow, that's a lot of dust in my air. The problem is what's in that dust is really important. If you go on the American Lung Association website right now, they have a great article on size matters. And the real issue is anything smaller than 10 microns poses the greatest human health risk. Now we're talking mold, bacteria, viruses, toxins, allergens, right? All these things that are tiny. And the reason being is because every time you breathe them in, they go past our self-defense mechanisms, right? Because they're too small. They bypass our lungs and they enter our bloodstream. So essentially, if it's too small, you're not only breathing it in, you're also ingesting it. Now it's getting into the bloodstream. Now it's impacting organs. And with mold, certain species of mold could be toxic. Certain species of mold could be allergenic. Certain species of mold are pathogenic. And each one will create its own host of symptoms. Now we get to autoimmunity, for example. I'm not going to go out on a limb and say mold is causing autoimmunity because we don't have enough information to flat out say that. But I will point out that it's very interesting that anybody who has Lyme disease or other co-infections, anybody who has rheumatoid arthritis, anybody who has lupus or pretty much any autoimmune disease, SIBO, pick one and name one, they have a sensitivity to mold for some reason. And whether it's causing autoimmunity, whether it's one of the causes of autoimmunity, or whether it's exacerbating autoimmunity and bringing out the symptoms, I don't think it matters because as long as we're looking at air quality and looking at ways to improve it, one thing that's profound for me is I've seen every single person improve their air quality, find some relief in whatever the existing condition they have going on. And that's really interesting. We're seeing PANS and PANDAS. I know that's not autoimmunity. It's a kid's psychiatric disorder. But we're seeing these kids get more disruptive in moldy environments. We're seeing, people with Lyme disease, they get knocked out by mold. As a matter of fact, most Lyme doctors will tell you that you have to treat the mold before you could treat the Lyme, which is a really interesting phenomenon. We're seeing with the amazing work Dr. Dale Bredesen is doing, we're seeing that mold toxins are to blame for what's called inhalational Alzheimer's, for the early onset of dementia. And if you go on changetheairfoundation.org's website right now, you'll see an amazing graphic. It's called Conception to the Grave under the Resources tab. And it shows you how it impacts us at each stage of life, from pregnant mothers to babies to children, adolescents, all the way through elderly. And it's really interesting to see because for me and for probably many people listening to this, the connection between air quality and health, it really hasn't been made. With the exception of COVID-19, was the first time we really, as a society, understood air transmission and how this stuff travels through the air. Other than that, we really haven't ever thought about air quality. And for how sick we are today as a civilization, it's probably time we start looking at that.